Indeed, the sky is falling, and that is the name of the tune I'm going to teach you and explain today on Dulcimerica. Thank you for joining me, everybody. My name is Bing Futch. The Sky is Falling is an improvisational piece that I wrote in August of 2019, and it's turned into something that is kind of unusual, a hybrid of sorts, with an A part that is crafted and a B part that is meant to be played differently depending on how you feel every single time. So it's half tune, half improv, put together into an exercise that I've been teaching to people recently, and I'm going to teach it to you now. But first, I want to say hello to Debbie Hens. Debbie, thank you very, very much for becoming a patron. I really, really appreciate you and all of the comments and all of the emails and all of the support that you've been giving me. I really, really thank you very, very much for that. And all of my patrons, I want to thank you for being there on a daily basis. It's just amazing to see how much I can accomplish knowing that you guys are there. And I appreciate everything, all the feedback. You steer me in directions, steer me in directions. That's very, very helpful. Maybe things I would have never thought about, but you've given me lots and lots of insight through our interactions, and I really appreciate that. So Debbie and all of my patrons, thank you very, very much for helping to make all of this stuff happen. For those of you who wonder about Patreon, you've seen it written about, you've seen people say that they are subscribing to it. Maybe you're not even sure what it is. Basically, it's like Netflix, Hulu, or any other streaming service, Disney Plus, if you will. But instead of movies and TV shows, what you've got are artists presenting themselves and their wares to you. And for just $5 a month, my patrons get all of my CDs, books, all of my videos, tablature, and teaching materials, plus new content that I do exclusively for patrons every single week. So if you're interested in trying Patreon out, you can go down below to patreon.com/BingFutch. Check out the open house tag. Follow all of those. You'll find over 5 years of things you can download. Try before you buy, and if you like it, please do consider becoming a patron like Debbie Hens. Again, Debbie, thank you very, very much. So we've got this tune that I started messing around with in August. My patrons are part of something called the Improv Files. If you come in at the $12 per month reward tier, you get a 4-song EP from the Improv Files every single month. And these are 4 songs that I have created on the fly. And that's what this started off as. But then every once in a while, one of these improvs actually opens itself up a bit, and I say, I think I'd like to craft that into something besides just an off-the-cuff approach to playing music. But how the whole thing started off was I was playing around with inversions and finger-picking through these inversions. An inversion, just to reflect and look back on and review, is, say, for example, we've got a D major chord, 2, 3, 4. The inversion of that in DAD tuning would be a 4, 3, 2. So we're just flipping that chord over, and it's a mirror image of itself, just flipped over. And to put it in more technical terms for music theory purposes, this is what we call an inversion. So we flip it over, and we have a different voicing. They have the same 3 notes in the chord, but those notes, those pitches, are at different locations, and so we have voiced the chord differently. And so that sounds like the same chord, but it's got a slightly different sound to it, and that comes from having that inversion present. So I was playing around with walking through some of these inversions and playing the same chord, but walking through them like this. And just by doing that, I came up with the first 6 notes of the melody. All I'm doing is moving through a series of very simple chords and using these inversions in the A section. So you can actually go to the link in the video description, and there is a separate link down there that'll take you directly to the tablature that I've been teaching for this tune, The Sky is Falling. We're starting off with D, and so we're just going to start off with this inversion leading from 4, 3 to 2. Now notice as I keep those fingers down, I'm bringing my thumb down on the melody string at 4 so I can begin the approach to play the inversion in the other direction. So I go 4, 3, 2, hit the 4 on the melody string, and while that's sounding, while it's sustaining, take these 2 fingers off and then walk down that way. And then I'm doing an A7 chord, so I'm going 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to slide up from 1 to 2 and let go of the bass string and the middle string, and then I pull off of 2. So I'll slowly go through that again. I'm doing a bit of a pinch when I slide from 1 to 2. I'm actually grabbing the middle string as well to sound the A as a drone. Let me go through that again. There's one little step I've left out here. Let me show you. I come back and pluck that middle string after I finish the D major. And that just serves to keep the 8th note counterpoint moving along without having a big gap there. And there again, at the very, very end of the phrase, after I pull off the 2 going to 0, I come back to the middle string and just fill in and just provide, again, some continuity for that rhythm. I'll play it again one more time here. Now sometimes I actually come over and I pick that counterpoint on the melody string. So I'm cross-picking. I'm going from the bass string over to the melody string. It's a small difference, but it's a difference that will make a difference if you're trying to be different. Okay, so. Second time through, I go from 1 down to open. So that little exchange there, the statement, the answer back, happens twice in the A section. And that's the part that's truly crafted. That's the part that is something that I kind of worked on, and I wanted it to be the same pretty much all the time. It's the B section that is going to change ever so slightly every single time that I play it. So I'll go through the A section again here. We have our D, into our A7, pick that middle, and 1. That's the A part right there. Now let's move on to the B section. What you're seeing written in the B section is an approximation of one of the times that I've passed through this piece. I don't want you to focus so much on that. I want you to look at the technique that I'm using to keep the melody going and also to keep that percolating 8th note figure happening in the background. So let's take a look at the B section, and I'm just going to do a version of it right now. First of all, our first chord is B minor, 2-1-0. So I start off with that. And one of the things I like about finger picking this piece as opposed to flat picking this piece is that I've got each one of these fingers assigned to a string. I've got my thumb on the melody string, my index finger on the middle string, and my middle finger on the bass string. So each one of those fingers takes care of one of those. So I really feel like I'm connected to the strings. I really feel like I'm connected more to the instrument. And if my head says, bring out the melody, I know that my thumb has got it. If my head says, you need to pull some bass in there, I know my middle finger has got it. And so I can move back and forth and then also sound 2 or more strings together by pinching, by grabbing like my thumb and my index finger between the melody and middle string. I can squeeze them together and then pull up and then release them and sound them both at the same time. I can do the same thing with the bass and the middle string. Although it's less of a pinch there because both of these fingers are pulling in the same direction. And I can sound chords all at the same time by doing a pinch just like that as well. So I like being connected. So I'm rolling through these. Let me go really slow this first time through the B part. We go from B minor to D major, back to B minor. Now here, we go into a really pretty chord. This is a G suspended 2 chord. A G suspended 2 chord. What we've done with a G suspended 2 is we've taken our normal 3-3-5 G major chord, and we've taken the third note of the G major scale, which is B, and we have suspended it temporarily to the A, which is the second note of the scale, and that's where this chord gets part of its name from. It's a suspended 2 chord. There are also suspended 4 chords where we would take the third note of the scale, B, and we would temporarily suspend it to the fourth note of the scale, which would be C. So these are suspended chords. So that suspended 2 chord is really pretty there, and then I resolve that. Again, we're temporarily suspending, creating this tension, and I then resolve that to a bar at the 3rd fret, which would be technically a G5 chord, because there is no major third and there is no minor third in that chord. It is simply the root of the chord, G, and the 5th of the chord, D. There is no third in there whatsoever, so it technically is a G5. We're resolving from G suspended 2 down to a G5. Then we're going to walk up into a C major chord. 3-4-6 is what I'm using. And then I get to do a neat little chromatic walk up, melodic wise, and into A major. And the A chord is the 5 chord, and it wants to resolve very nicely back home to the 1, and that takes us back to our A part with D major and walking through those inversions. So let me play again for you the B section. This time I'll go ahead and now finger pick all the way through and show you the style I'm using for that B section. From B minor. All right, hopefully you've gotten some of that and understand when the chords are changing and what chord shapes we are using. Now, I left some stuff out because I want to go ahead and go over that now. What I'm doing is I'm using a form of selective strumming, which I've talked about here on Dulcimerica before, but I'm doing basically selective finger picking. The idea here is that whatever your melody is, we've got 3 strings to work with. If your melody is happening on the melody string, and you don't want to keep plucking at it, then you avoid the melody string until you feel it's sustained long enough, and then you can do some picking on it and change it and move it around a little bit. So while that melody is sustaining, I am alternating back and forth between the bass string and the middle string. So I'm keeping that, again, that 8th note arpeggiation, that movement going. I'm just avoiding the melody string until I need to hit it again. Then I can go ahead and pick all the way through to the melody string and sound it, and then I'll go right back to alternating, and I'll come back to the melody string if I feel like I want to add another note there for whatever reason. But I'm trying to keep that melody as clean as possible. In fact, generally speaking, this is the melody that I am hearing during the B section. So that's the general idea that I'm doing. So now let me go ahead and go back to playing the B section, and I'll try and keep it to about the same melody there. But this time I'll go ahead and I'll do the work on the bass and on the middle string so you can see how I'm treating that melody and how I'm leaving it alone on that string when the melody needs to just sustain like that. I want to stop right there and show you to watch, because sometimes I'm going back and forth between bass and middle. And sometimes I'm doing a cross picking where I'm going from the bass string to the melody string. And that gives a different feel to the proceedings. Going again from the top of the B part. Now, what's that other stuff I'm doing in there? That could be considered melodic. It also just could be considered a phrase or something that ties together one part of a melody with another part of a melody. It's more like a riff, you know, it's more like a line that kind of comes in, not necessarily melody. It could be considered melody, but I'm doing that just to add some more flavor and some more motion to the piece, to break up a little bit what we've established with this 8-note stuff going on. So again, from the B part, as I continue to add little elements here, watch what I'm doing. I'll slow it down a little bit here. So you see how things changed a bit from the percolating back and forth bass and middle to when I get up here to the C, all of a sudden I've got a lot more activity taking place on the melody string. And so I've decided there to use more of a cross plucking, going from the bass string, hopping over the middle string to get to the melody. And that provides this other type of counterpoint where the bass is very insistent. Instead of rolling into the middle string, it's directly counterpointing against that melody. So coming in from the bass, from the B minor down here. And another way of going at it. And then the last time through the B part, I like to cap off that last A with an A slant, 6.5, 7, 8 up here, and then come back down again. So, with all of that in mind, I'm going to walk back through everything in The Sky is Falling, which, by the way, I wasn't exactly sure where the title came from until I started listening to the melody, and oftentimes just what you do rhythmically in the melody can suggest ideas for songs if the melody comes to you first. And somewhere in all this I heard, the sky is falling and da da dum bum bum, The sky is falling, adding da ding da da. Don't know why, it's one of the first things I heard, and so I stuck with it. That might have informed the rest of the piece, the B section. Because if you think about the term, the sky is falling, we think of Chicken Little. We think of this worrywart who's just so concerned that everything is happening in a terrible fashion. Which is why the song starts off kind of up and happy in a major way. We have two chords, D major and then the A7. But when we get to the B part, it gets dark. We go to the minor 6, we go to the B minor, and it bounces back and forth between D major. Then it lifts up into your G suspended 2. Then it gets even brighter and lifts up into C major. Then it gets even brighter and lifts up into A and takes us right to where we can get back home again to the A part. So I wanted to start off with a lot of modulation back and forth between the dark and the light, and then finally ascend out of the darkness into pure light, which is another way of saying the sky might be falling, but don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. At least that's what I believe. So let's play through it again, and this time I'm going to change it up a little bit. Bear in mind that you don't have to live down here with your chords. Once you know what those chords are, you can find other examples of those chords all over and employ the same picking technique so that it still sounds like it's the same tune, but you're definitely using different voicings of the chords to make it sound a little bit different. And there's a variation on The Sky is Falling. Once again, I play the A part the same way every time. And then the B part, I play the same chords and the basic same rhythm, but I do change up the melody every single time. And I may even change up the voicings on the chords just to take it in a different place. And so why have I decided to do that? How did I arrive at this decision? I think it's because once you get a song under your fingers, it can be very easy to kind of just go into autopilot and play it because you've got it memorized, you know how it's going to go, and there's not a lot of fear and danger involved in that. I like a little fear and danger on stage. It keeps things interesting. So I figured we have a song that is halfway assured, set in its ways, and the other half of the song is, it could be anything at any given time. And my challenge is to bring something different to the table every single time I play it. It's a great exercise, and it's very liberating to get up there and go, I have no idea how this is going to go, but we'll just let the moment dictate how it rolls. So give that a shot. Work with the music. You can use the B section example to your heart's content, and if you never go beyond that, that's fine. As long as you are able to kind of take away from the example how you can make your own arrangements using a couple of things. One, using inversions. It's really fun, and it's like finger dancing in the greatest way, you know. And another thing is finding different voices for your chords, changing the pitches around, changing the chord shapes, and allowing yourself the room to explore the unknown every single time you play through something. Another big takeaway is keeping motion going while bringing melody into the picture. You notice sometimes I came over and hit that melody and then left it alone, and then sometimes I came back over and maybe I'd hit it a couple more times. And the trick is just keeping your timing right so that the melody lands the way you want it to, and that your support rhythms on the bass and middle string just never falter. Keep them rolling, and that's part of the juggling act as well. That is The Sky is Falling. Once again, if you've just joined us late for some reason, you can download the tablature for this by going down to the video description and click on the link down there. It'll take you right to the page where you can download this and also get some more of the notes for this episode of Dulcimerica. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you, and we will see you next week with more music. Thanks, and we'll see you then.